Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to this lecture of Dynamics of Machine. And in today's class, we are going to continue our discussion over the governors. So in previous class, we started with the spring-loaded governor. So far, we have studied about Watt governor, Porter governor, and Powell governor. In previous class, we discussed about the Hartnell governor, that is the first spring-loaded governor. Okay, so let's just quickly revise it. This was the typical uh, arrangement of a Hartnell governor. So there was spring was loaded uh, over the sleeve, upside of the sleeve, and over the axis of rotation, right? That is on the spindle. And once they move out, as shown in this diagram, if the speed increases and the balls move out because of centrifugal force, then it will compress the spring upwards. Okay, and if the speed reduces, the spring will push uh, this downward, and the new extreme position would be achieved, which would look something like this. Okay, so the ball would be here and it would come like this, right? This we saw in the previous class in detail with the help of line diagram, and it is looking something like this. So uh, there is this lever on its one end, and the ball is mounted, and other end it is connected to the sleeve. Above the sleeve there is spring, and uh, these balls will move out and move in depending on the speed. All right, so centrifugal force would be m(r1) omega square. We discussed what is r1, what is r2, what is a1, a2 and a, what is c1, c2, what is b, b1, b2. All right, and another force along with this sleeve and friction force, mass of sleeve and friction force, which will come into the picture, is the spring force, Fs1. All right, and this spring force can be calculated by this basic formula, that is deflection of the spring multiplied by the spring stiffness. Okay, all right. Then we saw what are the forces, various forces which were acting, right? And the spring force was, the lift of the governor was proportional to the change in radius. Okay, and we saw different forces and how the expression for difference in the spring force was calculated with the help of the geometry. So Fs1 minus Fs2 was coming out to be 2 times F1 minus F2 into A by B. A and B were the these distances. All right, the arm length. Okay, then we also saw a numerical based on it. Now in today's class, we will be discussing about the Hartung governor. So this is the typical arrangement of Hartung governor. Let's go through it one by one. So here is the central axis. On the central axis, this sleeve is mounted. This sleeve is connected to the arm of the lever, and the another arm of this lever is connected to the ball. Okay, this is fly ball over here. Now this fly ball is connected to the spring. Okay, in previous case, the sleeve was connected to the spring over the spindle, right? And in this case, the fly ball is connected to the spring with this arrangement, and the spring is again a closed coil helical spring. Okay, now what are the forces which would be acting? Okay, uh, the force we will have different position of the balls. As the speed increases, the balls will tend to fly outwards because of the centrifugal force, and this would be the new position of the ball. Okay, in this position, what are the forces which would be acting? The forces would be, one is the F1 force, that is the, let me draw by another color. One is the F1 force, which is centrifugal force, okay, and that we will calculate by mr1 omega 1 square, okay, for F1 force. Another force which would be acting would be downwards, that is mg force, okay, because of the weight. And the third force which would be acting because of the spring, okay, since the spring is getting compressed, so we'll get a spring force which is drawn over here, that is Fs1 in the rightward direction. I'm drawing over here. This is Fs1, and Fs1 would be equals to spring stiffness, that is K, multiplied by the final compression. Okay, so when the spring is compressed because of this fly ball, this spring is compressed. Okay, and the spring will exert some force over the fly ball in the horizontally rightward direction. So this is the Fs1. This is the Fs1. Okay, and from this initial position, that distance, this distance is which the ball traveled. This distance is C1. Okay, and this vertical distance, this vertical distance would be A1. Okay, this vertical, this is misprinted over here. Please make correction. This distance would be A1. Okay. So this will be the configuration of the governor when the speed increases. So we have vertical distance A1. This radius of revolution would be R1. The another vertical distance, another horizontal distance would be C1. Okay, the position of the ball. All right. The centrifugal force would be F1. The spring force would be Fs1, and these two would be acting in direct opposite direction to each other. And there is mg force. All right. F1 will be calculated by mr1 omega 1 square. Spring force 1 Fs1 would be calculated by K, that is spring stiffness multiplied by the final compression. Okay, because spring will be compressed over here. All right. This was the case when the speed of the engine increases. Now, if the speed of the engine decreases from its mean speed, then what will happen? We'll achieve this configuration. Okay, the ball will move over here, somewhere over here. The centrifugal force which would be acting would be in this direction, that is Fs2. Oh, sorry, this is the spring force. Spring force would be acting. This is the spring force. This would be Fs2. And again, centrifugal force would be acting in this direction, that is F2. Mg force in this direction. The radius of rotation is R2. The vertical distance is A2. And this horizontal distance would be B2. Okay. Again, so the centrifugal force which would be acting would be mr2 omega 2 square. Spring force would be K into initial compression. Okay, K into initial compression, right? So this would be the position. And again, this mg force plus friction force divided by 2, this would be acting over here because we are taking the one half of the diagram for analysis. Okay, so difference in the spring force Fs1 minus Fs2 would be the net spring force, right? Net spring force would be the difference of the two, and this would be equals to K into net compression, that is the spring stiffness multiplied by the net compression in the spring. Okay, so initial compression minus the final compression will give us net compression. So this Fs1 minus Fs2 comes out to be K multiplied by R1 minus R2. Why R1 minus R2? Because R2, this when the ball is over here, this would be the initial compression of the spring. Okay, and when the ball is over here, this would be the final compression. So the total compression would be the final minus initial. So this we can calculate by subtracting R1 from R2. Okay. Draw it by another color. So this would be the net compression in the spring. Okay, this distance, and this can be calculated by R1 minus R2. So we have this expression for difference in the spring force. Again, the lift, one thing that we missed over here, the lift of the governor would be something like this. This would be the lift of the governor. Okay, and this A1, A2, and A would be equal because spring is mounted over here. So this position B and A, this would be known to us because of arm length of this lever, arms of this lever, and lift would be equals to R1 minus R2 into B by A, as in previous case. Okay, as in case of Hartnell governor, right? So again, now we'll take the moment of all the forces about this instantaneous center I. Okay, so one equation would be F1 into A1. What is F1? F1 is the centrifugal force. This multiplied by this distance, perpendicular distance, that is A1, and mg into C1. So this mg force is this, and the C1 distance is this, mg into C1. This would be equals to Fs1 into A1. The spring force into again this distance A1 multiplied by this mg plus minus F by 2 divided by 2 into B1. Okay, so this would be the first governing equation. So this is equation number 1. And similarly, for this position, this F2 into A2 minus mg2 into C2, mg into C2. Okay, this would be equals to Fs2 into A2 plus mg plus minus F divided by 2 into P2. Okay, so these are the two governing equations. Again, we'll take some assumptions to simplify these equations. That is, if we neglect the obliquity. Okay, obliquity will not come in this case because the ball is mounted with the spring. Ball is attached with the spring. All right. So A1 would be equals to A2 is equals to A. Right. And if the ball gravity is neglected, that is mg force is very less as compared to these other forces, then this mg would be equals to 0. So we'll again write these equations. So this first equation comes out to be F1 into A is equals to Fs1 into A plus mg plus minus F by 2 divided multiplied by B. Okay, so this is equation number 3. And again, this equation is rewritten as F2 into A is equals to Fs2 into A plus mg plus F by 2 into B. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll subtract this fourth equation from third. Why? Because we want to get another equation for difference in the spring force, right? One equation of spring force we derived over here, and another equation for difference in the spring force would be calculated by this. So once we subtract these equations, we get Fs1 minus Fs2 is equals to F1 minus F2. So change in the spring force would be equals to change in the centrifugal force. Okay, and we'll equate these two equations. We can equate these two equations in order to solve the numerical problems and whatever is asked in it. Okay, so this was all about the Hartung governor. Now let's move forward to the next governor, that is Wilson-Hartnell governor. The only difference in this its arrangement is that the spring, both the balls are connected to each other with the help of spring. Okay, in previous case, the ball was connected to spring and it was another end of spring was connected with the frame. of the governor. That is, it was fixed, right? But in this case, the both the balls are connected to each other. Okay, and another spring, which is auxiliary tension spring, is mounted over here, and it is connected to the sleeve. Okay, it is connected to the sleeve. So try to understand this. Initial position would be something like this. The M is acting downward, mg force. The there is some initial tension in the spring. This is closed coil tension spring, and auxiliary spring is also a tension spring. Okay. So when the initial position is something like this, that it is at its mean position. The arm length is A, this arm length is B, and over here it is connected to other lever. So this distance from fulcrum to sleeve, this distance is X, and from fulcrum to axis of the spring, okay, this distance is Y. All right. Now this auxiliary spring, it has its stiffness is Ka. We'll name it as Ka, and the this central spring, its stiffness is K. All right. Also, it's we can calculate lift from over here. We'll come to it. The force which would be coming on the sleeve would be mg and f. These are already there. We'll have this spring force also. This spring force is coming due to auxiliary spring, and we'll call it as FSA1. Okay, FSA. Why FSA? Because we are talking about auxiliary spring. So SA represents auxiliary spring. All right. Now, again, the radius of rotation, when the speed increases, the radius of rotation would be R1. The position of the ball would be over here. All right. And again, the forces which would be acting is forces which would be acting are this F1 force. This is equals to M R1 omega 1 square. R1 is this. Spring force would be pulling it in this direction. So this would be Fs2. Okay. And again, this distance would be A1. This lift, this vertical distance would be B1. Okay. And once this moves upward, what will happen to this? This sleeve, this will go something like this. Okay, the lever of this auxiliary spring, this will move downward. Let me draw by another color. So this will move downward. When the balls move outward, this lever will go something like this, and this lever would go like this. Okay. So we'll have what will this tension spring do? This tension spring will try to pull it upwards. So we will get this force F dash as A1. Okay. Now, when the ball moves inside, that is when the speed of the engine reduces, the next position of the ball would be over here. The again, this would be the R2, the radius of rotation. The centrifugal force which would be acting is F2, right? And the spring force which would be acting is Fs2 in this direction. Fs2, right? The vertical displacement would be C2. The horizontal distance would be A2. A2 is shown over here. And this distance would be B2. Now, when the sleeve moves downward, what will be the new position? The new position of this lever this lever would be something like this. Okay, and the auxiliary spring will exert FS2 FSA2 dash force on the this sleeve. Okay, so auxiliary spring will give this force, and because of this lever, we'll get FSA1 and FSA2 forces on the sleeve. All right, and this distance which is traveled by this lever in this extreme positions, this would be L dash. This we are naming as L dash. Okay, and the distance traveled by the sleeve would be the lift. Okay, from extreme positions, it is lift, and this we are naming as L. All right, so I hope this diagram is clear to you. So we'll move forward and look at the equations. Okay. So F1 is the centrifugal force, F2 is the centrifugal force, FS1 and FS2 are the spring forces of this because of this central spring, which is having stiffness K. Okay. So K into final elongation and K into initial elongation. Now this FS1 dash is K1 into final elongation in the auxiliary spring, right? FS1 dash is the, see this FS1, this dash force, it is acting on the spring, and the force which we are getting on the sleeve is FS1 and FSA1 and FSA2. Over here it is F dash SA1 and F dash SA2. Okay, its corresponding forces are different on sleeve. So Fs dash A1 would be K1 into final elongation in the auxiliary spring, and F dash SA2 would be Ka multiplied by initial elongation in the auxiliary spring. So again, with the help of geometry, we'll get Fs1 minus Fs2 is equals to K into R1 minus R2. Okay, this how this equation comes, we already saw in case of previous two governors. And another equation, when we write the moment about this spring, this moment about this instantaneous center, we have to consider all the forces, that is centrifugal force, the central spring force, the force which is coming on this sleeve, right, and the distances. Okay, so it comes out to be Fs1 minus Fs2 is equals to this F1 minus F2 minus Fs1 minus Fs2 by 2 into B by A. Okay, so these are the two expressions which would be used for determining the unknowns in the given numerical. All right, so it is we have two equations for the difference in the spring force, and this spring force is the central spring. All right, so I hope this is clear. Let's move forward. The last governor is the spring-loaded governor is the Pickering governor. Now in this Pickering governor, we have this central spindle which is connected to the crankshaft. This spindle, over this spindle, we have this movable rotating plate. Okay, this movable rotating plate is there. Instead of sleeve, we have a movable rotating plate, and there is a fixed rotating plate. So this movable rotating plate can move vertically up and down, and this fixed rotating plate, it will remain fixed. Okay. Now these two plates are connected with the help of leaf springs. The leaf springs are connected over here. Okay, so as you can see, it will look something like this. So this is the spindle. This is the spindle. Okay, upper plate is the fixed plate. Lower plate is the moving plate which can move vertically upward and downward. right? And these are connected with the help of leaf springs. Okay, and these leaf springs at their center will have some amount of weight connected to it. Okay, so as this rotates, as this spindle rotates, this fixed and moving plate will also rotate. Okay, and since they are rotating, this spring will also rotate along with the plates. So what will happen? This mass which is attached, this because of centrifugal force will move outward. Okay, so this springs, the leaf springs, they will tend to bend like this, and it will move this plate upwards. Okay, so there will be some amount of lift in the plate. Okay, so this new configuration would be achieved. So this FC force, that is the centrifugal force, would be acting, which will bend the plate, which will bend the spring, and in turn it will lift this movable plate. The spring, the leaf spring, which is attached, will have this type of configuration. That is, its length is L, its width is B, and its thickness is T. Okay, so L would be over here. It will be mounted along its length. All right. And this spring, this leaf spring, would be acting as fixed beam. Okay, so this force is acting on it. So this load is acting on it, and deflection would be coming. It can be calculated by delta L is equals to PL cube upon 192 EI. So this is the standard formula you might have studied in the strength of materials. Okay, so this FC force, this can be calculated by M into R plus delta L. What is R? R is the radius at which the spring is mounted. Okay, and the distance with which it has deflected, it would be delta L. Okay, and delta L would be calculated with this expression. So we will get centrifugal force M is equals to F is equals to M R plus delta L into omega square. Okay, because why R plus delta L? Because total distance of this CG of this small weight would be R plus delta L. And delta L is equals to FC into L cube, FC into L cube into 192 E, divided by 192 E into I. E is the modulus of elasticity, and I would be the moment of inertia of this the cross section of this leaf spring. Okay, and lift, there's a standard formula for this lift, how much it will lift. It would be 2.4 into delta L square divided by L. Okay, so these are the expressions which would be used for determining the values in case of Pickering governor. Okay, so in this configuration there are 4 leaf springs, and they are each at angle of 90 degree to each other. Okay, they are mounted at 90 degree to each other. So if you see the top view, this is where the spindle goes, and the springs would be mounted over here. Okay, the springs would be 90 degree apart from each other. All right, so this is all about the spring loaded governors. Okay, so I hope you are able to comprehend this and understood how the spring governors work. So we discussed 4 types of governor. That is, first one was the Hartnell governor, second one was the Hartung governor, right? Third one was the Wilson Hartnell governor, and fourth one was the Pickering governor. So this is all about the spring loaded governors. Okay, so I conclude my class over here. Thank you, everyone.